Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to this very important meeting today. Y'all are a beautiful audience, by the way. Y'all look good out there. Good to see y'all. This important meeting today, Tuesday, September 6, 2016, in the City of Portsmouth City Council chambers. I would like to ask Commissioner Thompson to please give us invocations and lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Thompson.
In lieu of an invocation, I would like to ask you all to join me for a moment of silence for all of our friends and neighbors who have been struck with natural disasters lately. And please keep our friends up north in our hearts. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we will now have roll call. Five members of the Planning Commission are present.
Commissioners, before you are the minutes of August 2nd, 2016 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we're in need of a motion. Commissioner Youngblood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion we accept the minutes as presented.
Chair has received the motion, and Chair has a second. Commissioner Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
It has been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve the August the 2nd, 2016 minutes. Please indicate your motion electronically, please. There's two. The minutes are approved. The minutes are approved 5-0.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioners, going to make a short change to our agenda today. And the chair is in need of a motion to move up item CA. Hold on one second. Get it right. Here we go. Is it UP?
It's
CA
16.
CA 1602.
To be the first item.
To be the first item. Commissioner Youngblood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make that motion. We move item CA 0602 to be the first item of business today.
Thank you, Commissioner Youngblood. Commissioner Vaughn.
I second that motion.
It has been motioned and properly second to move item CA 1602 to the first item today. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will indicate your approval electronically. It is approved by a vote of 5-0. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Please note that our next work session is Tuesday, October the 4th at 12:30 p.m., 6th floor conference room, followed by public hearing at 1:30, City Council chamber. Items that are reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their October the 11th, 2016, or October the 25th, 2016 public hearing, or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is CA-16-02 citywide. The City of Portsmouth seeks approval of text amendments to Chapter 14.1 flood protection to reflect modifications due to departmental configuration changes. No regulatory changes are proposed. Staff Coordinator Meg Pittenger.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of Planning Commission. I am Meg Pittenger. I'm with the Planning Department. As you may or may not remember, because it was some time ago last year, you all approved recommendations to update our floodplain ordinance, which is Chapter 14.1, in line with our updating of our flood maps. At the end of the year, Mr. Fred Brusso, he retired, and as a result, the Department of Neighborhood Advancement was dissolved and the functions were transferred to other departments. So the floodplain ordinance references the Department of Neighborhood Advancement in a few places, and these amendments that we are requesting are just cleaning up that language, taking neighborhood advancement out of the ordinance, and taking the Director of Neighborhood Advancement as the floodplain administrator out of the ordinance, and cleaning it up to sort of future-proof it a little bit so that we won't have to make these changes again. The ordinance will designate the environmental manager as the floodplain administrator or anyone else designated by the city manager should that change. The other change is that the ordinance indicated that the Department of Neighborhood Advancement was the store place for the firms. You have to identify where you're keeping the firms for the public, and we changed that to say in the floodplain administrator's office. So wherever that function goes, because that function will have to always be a function, that will follow them around. And as mentioned, we are not proposing any regulatory changes. All the ordinances and all the requirements are staying in place. We're not making anything any different there. It's just sort of cleaning up that language. So we are requesting that you consider recommendation of the approval of these text changes to the floodplain ordinance, Chapter 14.1. And I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, you have any questions? Commissioner Thompson?
Meg, what is the correct? Is it 1601, 0601, or 0602?
It's 02. That is actually incorrect. What you have on your paper is correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Good catch. Anything else, Commissioners? There being none, thank you, Meg. Thanks. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item CA-16-02. If there is anyone here who would like to address this, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner Thompson.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the text changes proposed and outlined by Meg previously.
For
CA-1602.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Chair has received the motion. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Vaughn.
I second the motion that we accept.
It has been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve the text changes in CA-16-02. You may vote electronically. This item is approved by a vote of 5-0. Our second item is UP-16-10, Downtown, Dan E. Griffin, Architect, AIA, PC, on behalf of Lethal Holding Corporation, requests a use permit to convert the second through seventh floors of 505 Washington Street into 27 apartments for residents 55 and older. The property is further described as Tax Map 13, Parcel 1. The Comprehensive Plan's Generalized Future Land Use Map recommends mixed-use downtown development for the property. Staff Coordinator Stacy Porter.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, Ms. Porter.
I'll give a brief overview of the project. The property is zoned downtown T5. According to Portsmouth City Code, a use permit is required for multifamily development in the T5 zoning district. The property is known as the Professional Building, a former location of leased office space. The property is 0.217 acres in size and contains a 7-story brick building with a floor area of 41,110 square feet, constructed in 1929. Due to the property's location in the AE flood zone, all renovations are subject to floodplain regulations. And I'll now give an overview of the surrounding area. The property is surrounded to the north by a Catholic church, a pharmacy, and retail establishments. To the east by an apartment building, the former YMCA building. To the south by offices and retail establishments. And to the west by offices. The surrounding zoning of all the aforementioned properties is downtown T5. Staff has included the applicant's proposed floor plans, renovations in your agenda packets, as the floor plan details were difficult to project on screen. This is the physical survey of the property showing on the right of the screen, this Washington Street entrance and High Street at the bottom of the screen. I'll now provide a brief overview of the applicant's request. The exterior of the building will remain as is, except for the replacement of the windows. The applicant recently received approval from the Downtown Design Committee for the installation of new single-hung windows with insulated glazing. The DDC certificate of approval was included in your agenda packet. The applicant will return to the DDC for the approval of the signage, as well as any flood-proofing measures required for the exterior of the building. The first floor of the structure will be maintained as future leasable commercial space. The applicant submitted the floor plans of the 2nd through 7th floors, which will contain a total of 27 apartments. All apartments will be handicapped accessible and only leased to those persons 55 and older. The 2nd floor will be renovated to provide a meeting room, card room, fitness room, and computer room. The manager's apartment will also occupy the 2nd floor. The remaining upper floors will contain the other proposed apartments. Interior renovations will also include a new sprinkler system, new plumbing, HVAC, and electrical systems. There's no parking requirement in the downtown districts. However, the applicant indicated that a surface parking lot to the rear of the structure will be made available on a first-come, first-served basis. Staff recommends the approval of the applicant's request to convert a former office building into 27 apartment units at 505 Washington Street. We provided several conditions to ensure the compliance with local, state, and federal regulations, which will include the floodplain regulations, Virginia Uniform Building Code, and the Fair Housing Act. And that concludes the presentation.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Porter? There being none, thank you, Ms. Porter.
Okay.
Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-1610. I do have 2 registered speakers. As I call your name, would you come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Dan Griffin.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Griffin, architect, 3520 High Street, Portsmouth, Virginia. Basically, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. We still have a lot of work to do to make this project go, but the use permit is the first step for us. We've already been to the D1 Design Committee, got approval from them. The biggest issue facing us is how we're going to flood-proof this building in accordance with the standards. We will be consulting with several design engineers to come up with a plan, hopefully that will work and be financially feasible. So with that being said, should you have any questions I can answer, I'll be glad to.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Mr. Griffin? Commissioner Thompson?
Hi. It looks like you have a community room with some type of a kitchen on the 2nd floor. There's not going to be any food service. This is just kind of a warming kitchen?
No, there would be like a microwave in that room, but there would be no formal kitchen cooking. Everything would be catered, if anything.
Okay. And the same, there would be no assisted care unless it was private. There's not going to be anything for the facility?
No.
Okay. Then I have one more question. The housing for older persons exemption under the Fair Housing Act says that it must be designed and operated to assist elderly persons, but there's only a requirement that 80% of the units have one occupant 55 years or older. Is that correct?
Well, what our plan is to make these available to 55 and older. The reason for that was being there are a lot of apartments being built in downtown Portsmouth right now. The fact that even though parking is not required in the downtown area, we felt that, number one, going 55 and older would provide a much-needed use in the downtown area and also reduce the parking requirements. The building, if we move forward, it will also be fully sprinkled, which it is not at the present time.
Great. I think it's an excellent idea.
I'm sorry.
I said I think it's an excellent idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Any other questions for Mr. Griffin? Appreciate what y'all are trying to do there, sir.
Thank you very much.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Terry Danaher.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Danaher. I live at 413 Dinwiddie Street in Old Town, Portsmouth. I'm here to speak in favor of this idea. I think it's a great idea. I think I'd love to move my mother there. So if you could hurry up and build it, I'd appreciate it. I'd love to have her within walking distance or boating distance, depending upon the flooding, especially if it's protected from flooding. Gotcha. I am also the president of the Old Town Civic League, and if there had been any complaints about this project, I would have heard about it, trust me. It was announced, I believe, in the Currents, and I haven't heard a thing from anybody except positive. One of our vice presidents, in fact, is on the downtown design committee and had no problems with it. So I think it's a fantastic idea. It's right across the street from a pharmacy. What could be better for people who are in senior living? So I really hope that you all support this, and I'd love to see it happen. That corner has been a bit of a problem for us for years and years, and it's good to see something finally there, potentially. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, anything for Ms. Danner? Thank you so much, Ms. Danner. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-16-10. If there's anyone else here who would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Tony Goodwin. I reside in the Parkview section of the city. I'll keep my comments very brief, just coming off of a cold. But I would like to say, as a business owner and also commercial real estate, truly in favor of a project such as this. It's been a long time coming to see the professional building be transformed in something that actually is its highest and best use, I think, at this time. I would also like to say, as the Portsmouth Old Town Business Association, we did not have any reservations negatively to this, because it's obviously another economic impact that's a good one for us, brings people downtown, and to be able to shop at the shops and dine at the restaurants. So keep up the good work. This is definitely one for the positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Any questions for Mr. Godwin, Commissioners? Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone else who would like to address UP-16-10? Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Since there is no further discussion, Chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve Planning Commission item UP 16-10.
Thank you, sir. The chair has received the motion. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Thompson.
I'd second the motion.
It has been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
There are conditions recommended with that
So it needs to-
proposal.
I got you.
If you could recognize those in the motion, it would just be clearer for the record. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, sir, no
Then
problem.
I have no problem amending that motion to recommend the approval of item 16.10 with conditions as stated.
Chair has received the motion. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Thompson?
I'll second that motion with the proposed conditions.
It has been motioned and properly second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-16-10 with conditions as stated. You may vote electronically. This item is approved, 5 with conditions, 5-0. Our next item, UP-16-11 Midtown, and Genuine Enterprises on behalf of Walmart Real Estate Business Trust request a use permit for a Panda Express fast casual restaurant with drive-through at 1098 Frederick Boulevard. The property is further described as Tax Map 312, Parcel 8. The Comprehensive Plan's Generalized Future Land Use Map recommends commercial development for the property and denotes that the property is a part of a regional activity center. Staff Coordinator Stacy Porter.
Again, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The property is 0.73 acres in size and is an out parcel that is a part of a 20.75 acre parcel that is zoned General Mixed Use GMU. Code requires a use permit for a restaurant with drive-through services in the GMU zoning district. The property is developed with a Walmart Supercenter and Wawa convenience store with gasoline sales. The proposed development will be Portsmouth's first Panda Express restaurant. And I hope you all can see this map. It gives an overall view of the surrounding land uses. The large white structure is the Walmart Supercenter with associated parking. A Wawa is located at the southeast corner of the shopping center, and that's the corner of the map, the bottom left corner of the map. Other restaurants in the vicinity, which are located at the bottom of this map, and they're right along Frederick Boulevard, is Rally's, IHOP, and Chick-fil-A, and they are to the east of that Panda Express site. And to the north is the Wells Fargo Bank. The proposed Panda Express will be located at the front entranceway of the shopping center, and I'll show that on the next slide a little closer up. And this is a portion of the site plan that was submitted to us. There is proposed a 2,600 square foot restaurant that will be located at the front entrance of the parcel at 1098 Frederick Boulevard. The front door will face east toward the street. The site will be directly accessed along the interior roadway of the shopping center. The drive-through window will be located along the south face of the structure. Code requires a minimum of 5 stacking spaces for that drive-through. The applicant proposes to provide 9 stacking spaces. The remainder of the site will provide customers a total of 30 parking spaces, including 2 Americans with Disabilities Act spaces. Now, only 18 site spaces are required by code. The applicant does exceed their site parking by they go over the 125% for the site parking requirement, and therefore will be required during the site plan review process, to receive an off-street alternative parking plan review. The applicant did express the general nature of Panda Express and that they tend to cater to dine-in customers, and therefore they desire more site parking. The applicant submitted several building elevations depicting the proposed Panda Express restaurant. Now, I'm just including the Frederick Boulevard elevation. This is facing east and also facing south, and you'll see that drive-through window on the south face of the restaurant. The applicant will be creating a custom building with the front door facing Frederick Boulevard as required by code. Now, this is atypical of Panda Express, which normally does not offer a front door on the front face of the restaurant model. Staff recommends the approval of the applicant's request for a restaurant with drive-through service with the conditions listed in the staff report. The proposal complies with the recommendation of the comprehensive plan for commercial development and is an appropriate land use within a regional activity center. In addition, staff finds that with the proposed conditions, the proposal complies with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Commissioners, you have any questions or comments for Ms. Porter? Commissioner Youngblood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Porter, I see that you wrote to all of the surrounding property owners and that we got one letter back expressing some concern. Has that been resolved?
I believe so. And I just want to point out to the audience where that property owner is located. I won't be able to use the pointer here, but on the left of the slide is Scott Street. It's the street that runs right beside this larger shopping center where Walmart is. It is a residence right on Scott Street, and they were concerned that already there is a lot of traffic for the Walmart shopping center as well as with the Wawa, and they were concerned about the traffic flow for, I guess, with the addition of the Panda Express. We have actually worked with the Panda Express folks via Ingenium, the engineering firm that's working on the site plan, and we believe have come up with a good flow for the traffic circulation that should address this person's concerns.
Okay, that's what I was driving at, that you've addressed their concerns and they seem to be happy with it. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Youngblood. Commissioners, anything else, Ms. Porter? There being none, thank you, Ms. Porter.
Okay.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-16-11. I do have two registered speakers. As I call your name, would you come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Brett Ford.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brett Ford,
Afternoon.
3650 Suite 495 Mansell Road, Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of Ingenium Enterprises for Walmart Real Estate Business Trust and Panda Express. Here to answer any questions or concerns, and also want to thank Ms. Porter for her hard work on the staff report and for presenting that.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Ford? There being none, we just appreciate what you guys are trying to do to help
All right.
help Portsmouth grow. Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Joyce Freeman.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Joyce Freeman. I reside at 3306 Scott Street.
Yes, ma'am.
But my concerns have already been addressed about the traffic. I was worried
Okay.
about the traffic.
Gotcha.
But I'm okay with the Panda Express because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love to eat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm good.
All right.
All right, thanks.
We appreciate you, Ms. Freeman. We appreciate you. All right now. Bless her heart. Yes. Commissioners, any? Well, there ain't no more speaking. Madam Secretary, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-16-11. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address UP-16-11, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, since there is no further discussion, the chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the approval of item UP 16-11 with conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Vaughn.
I'll second the motion that we approve with conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Vaughn. This has been motioned and probably second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically. This item is approved 5-0 with conditions.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Commissioners, would there be any further business? None? Okay. Mr. Hartley.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify one point from the work session.
Yes, sir.
The meetings with the outreach team in the civic leagues on September 22nd, those are designed to be just for the people who were invited to those.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, you'll be there representing the Planning Commission, since the comp plan is technically the responsibility of the Planning Commission. But past that, we want to limit the number of public officials who are going, because it's not designed to be a public meeting, and we don't want to advertise the. We will have a separate meeting with you all, like I said, on your October regular Planning Commission date, and we'll do everything. We'll let you know what was happening and work on getting your feedback and everything from there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Swets. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Williams.
Now that you mentioned that, just one question. Do you have some idea as to whom from the civic leagues you will be inviting?
We've reached out to all of the presidents of the civic leagues and asked them, either them or one of their representatives, to come.
Okay, so we're talking about one person from each civic league.
That, unless they decide they want to send more. But yeah, the idea was to just speak with the presidents or a single representative of each league.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Anything else, Mr. Swets or Mr. Hartley?
Just to emphasize that you will be meeting October 4th, but at this point, we have no public hearing items. Since it is your exposure to the comprehensive, your first exposure to the comprehensive plan, though, I would encourage all of you to try to attend that if possible. So, and I believe we still will be serving you lunch.
Hey, I appreciate it. I just want to say I appreciate the staff. I appreciate our liaison, Councilman Cherry, and also our new deputy city manager here as well, for all the hard work you guys do. And I appreciate the citizens as well. Always good to see y'all. And hearing there's none, this meeting is now adjourned.